Hi, ever wonder what it's like to work another profession or live in the underworld? Listen to unsuspecting riders give a 10 to 15 minute personal masterclass as I spontaneously interview them as they enter my taxi. I'm your host, Simon Rushton, and this is Taxi Chronicles. Morning. Yes, we're back with another episode, another rider. Today we have the lovely Sally with us. And Sally is a teacher first, as she's pointed out to me, and an assistant head second. And she's going to tell us all about what it's like from a teacher's point of view, an assistant head's point of view. So nice to have you here today, Sally.
Good afternoon.
So before we get into it, tell us, what kind of person were you when you were in school?
Mostly a good student at most of the time. However, sometimes I did take the occasional day off to go and follow my favourite band at the time. I'm not going to name who they are because it doesn't really kind of like give me kudos. But yeah, I used to take a couple of days off to follow them around while they were going to recording studios and things like that.
Okay, that's nice. So when did you realise you wanted to be a teacher?
Well, I started off from the very beginning as somebody that helped out in a classroom rather than being the actual teacher. And then I saw what one particular teacher was doing, and I thought I could do this myself, and I could do it a lot better than what she was actually doing. So I said to myself, give it a go. Luckily at that time I had a supportive head teacher, and they put me on the right path, gave me the opportunity to go and do my teacher training, still whilst working and getting my pay, which helped with regards to paying for the course and things like that. And yeah, since then it's been non-stop teaching.
Okay. A couple of things based on what you said there. Did you say supportive head teacher? Is that there are head teachers who will try not to want you to expand? So I thought all schools need teachers nowadays.
All schools do need teachers, however, not every head teacher is going to be supportive of that, maybe because you might have restrictions on budgets, so you're not always able to give your staff that opportunity to develop themselves and support them financially. And sometimes, with regards to clashes of personalities, and it might not be the right school for you at that time to help you develop your career in that way.
What subject did you start off teaching or assist?
Well, because I'm a primary school teacher, I teach everything. So there's no specific literacy or maths, so you do everything in primary.
Okay, that's interesting. Do you ever see yourself in some of the pupils?
Oh yes, all the time. There's lots of mini-me's running around the school and lots of them take on some of my mannerisms. So if I have like a little saying, they might say it, and even children that come back to see me after I've taught them as a nursery officer before I was a teacher, that's over 20 years ago, have some of the rhymes that I used to say to them, and they come back and they remind me of them with their own children.
Can you tell us a rhyme?
Well, they're a bit personal to me, so if I put them out there, they're going to know it's me.
No problem. This is Lady Anonymous. What have you learned that you wish you knew when you started?
Before I started being a teacher?
Yes.
So what have I learned? Try and not let my emotional side of me, so building friendship relationships in the professional capacity, take over my professional decisions. So in as much as I can be emotional, I've got to try and make sure that I'm always professional when it comes to making decisions at school.
So it's fair and calculated.
That's the one.
For the school's interests, not for anybody else's.
Not exactly, because it's all about the little children at the end of the day. It's not about the relationships and me trying to make people think that I'm nice or wanting to do things to please people. Pleasing people doesn't always get the job done.
How long have you been in the education industry?
About 30 years now.
That's a long time.
It is, yes.
So
and that's not including my own education.
Okay.
Education as a professional, about 30 years, yep.
How would you say the industry's changed, and has it changed for the better or for the worse?
It has changed a lot, and mostly the curriculum has completely changed from what I was used to when I was at school. It's changed in different ways, some for the good, some for the better. Schools are under a lot of pressure these days with regards to budgets and ensuring that they have, the right amount of equipment and resources. And resources isn't just like the paint pots, it's the people resources as well that count in schools. And at this moment in time, due to stretched budgets, the people resource isn't always available to support those children that really need it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what would you change if you could change anything?
If I could change anything, I would give head teachers the power to have a bigger budget to ensure that they can deliver the curriculum of their choice in a way that will continue to support the children's learning so that they can reach their holistic potential and achieve their aspirations to be lifelong learners, and whichever career path they choose, that education can support them in getting there.
And they say the teachers industry is quite stressful because obviously not so much money as what you should get. It's a bit like the nurses, the long hours, etc., etc. So therefore the knock-on effect is a lot of teachers are leaving. Is this the case, or is it just like scaremongering from the news?
I think the new teachers, I call them new teachers that are up and coming, they don't have as much, with regards to the teacher training that they're being offered, it doesn't really, in my opinion, give them the skill set to face what it is that they will be doing when they actually get into the classroom. So teacher training at this moment in time needs to be, in my opinion, reviewed so that the teachers coming in get a real kind of like view of what's going to happen day to day in the classroom. Because like you said, not only are we teachers, there's occasions where you've got to be the social worker, you've got to be the nurse, you've got to be the mother, the father, and everything else. So teaching is a vocation, and that's what teachers, newly qualified teachers, through their training should be taught as well, because they don't get as much as that. Unless they come into a school where they see it through their placements and stuff, they don't really get to know the other bits that go alongside as being a teacher. So teaching the children how to count and so on, there's a lot more to teaching than that.
I was speaking to another teacher the other day, and we were talking about the pressures of being a teacher, and I said it would probably be a good idea for every school to have a social worker in that school to deal with like family issues so the teacher can kind of focus on teaching, and if there's a social issue, the social worker just comes down the corridor, or the child goes to the social worker. Would you say that's a good idea?
I'm not sure if you always need a social worker, because there's, connotations attached to being, linked to a social worker as well. But the pastoral side, if there was somebody in the school that could offer that, I know some establishments that I've worked in the past, they've had like a creative arts therapist or a play therapist alongside the school. In the past, we used to have things called learning mentors, and there's not many of those around, where children that were in need of that pastoral care could be taken outside the classroom, educated in a smaller group with the pastoral concerns taken into consideration.
When you say pastoral, what do you mean?
So with regard to the pastoral bit, it's like the bits where children might have an emotional problem, so they're given time to go and speak to somebody about how they're feeling, release their emotions, if anything's upsetting them. And so the pastoral side of it is just kind of like being that, as I said to you in the beginning, being a teacher sometimes is being a mother and a father. So that pastoral side is that person that can make the links between home and school, to ensure that if anything's going on at home, they can monitor it, they can observe it, and most importantly, they can support it. And not only supporting the family, because, as we say, as our Caribbean saying, it takes a whole village to raise a child. So where we have that pastoral support in schools available, that will enable us to keep that going.
Okay. What does the future hold for you?
For me as an educator?
Just generally.
Okay, so me as an educator, I'm looking forward to, having the children back. We've had lockdown, and even though, some of the children were still attending at school, it's good to have a full class back in action, because like you said, with the nurses and so forth, teachers have continued teaching their children. It's been a bit different for me in the fact that I've had to teach online and virtual lessons, which, in my career of so long and being in education, is something that I haven't really experienced as much. So that was something new. But with regards to the future, it's just making sure that the children that are in my class are able to achieve and aspire to become what it is that they want to be.
There are some attributes of teaching on Zoom. From when you get naughty children, you'll say, listen, I'll block you. You're going to behave? You're going to be blocked. It's very simple. But obviously I'm not a teacher.
No, this is it. And I would never ever say that a child is naughty. It's a case that the choices that they're choosing at that time are the ones that we would not promote, because it's all about choice with regards to behaviour.
Yes. So you wouldn't even say those actions are naughty?
No, it's a choice. It's a choice. It's a choice.
Yeah, but if they've chosen bad or problematic actions, then surely that's being naughty at that moment.
At that moment in time, it's a choice.
I can see your real piece. Next thing you're going to tell me everybody's a winner.
Well, we're all winners and we're all losers.
Okay,
all winners and all losers.
Okay.
And it's not about being PC. Yeah, it's not about being PC. It's about recognising that when we start flinging around those labels for children like naughty, self-destructive, they can become self-fulfilling prophecies, and that's not what I want for the children that I teach.
Okay. I hear you. I hear you. For anybody who wants, at Taxi Chronicles, we believe in what we call sharing a gift. And the idea is that you're an experienced lady with many, like 30 years experience in the industry. So anybody who wants to be a teacher, that you could kind of, your advice, this episode, this interview will help them. So what I ask now is, what would you say to a young person who wants to get into the industry of teaching, and how would they go about it?
Okay, so if you want to go into teaching is a vocation as well as a profession. If you want to go about it, first of all, I would go into a local school, do a bit of volunteering just so that you can see what it's really like. And once you've done some volunteering, then apply to your local university and get your teaching qualification through that way. There's lots of routes into teaching. So you can do placements where you can earn a little bit along the way, or you can just go fully into the teaching profession through a different route, like just going straight to university and doing your teacher training that way through the different teacher qualifications that are available. But yeah, always go and have a look first. Try before you buy.
Thanks for that. Today we have obviously student loans, and it's like you put yourself in indentured servitude. What is the most cost-effective way of becoming a teacher?
The most cost-effective way would probably be to find that route, as I mentioned before, if you're lucky enough to get some volunteer work in a school and see if they will support you with regards to your teacher training, because yes, it is an expensive route, but it's definitely worth it in the end.
Okay. Last question, and you've been a great guest, is what's the impact you want to have in the world?
The impact that I want to have on the world is for every class that I teach, that those children go back and show what I've taught them and become model citizens within the world that they're living in. They make positive contributions, and once they've had their own children, they come back and see me and remind me of my little sayings.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot for that. Much appreciated, and we wish you well.
Thank you.
We hope you liked that interview. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to get the latest daily episode. Ever considered investing in the continent with the fastest growing economy and population on Earth? The same continent that holds 30% of the world's known natural resources? Then listen to our sister podcast, Africa Investor Stories, where you will hear real investors with real stories from around the world share their experience of investing in Africa. We post Monday and Thursday at 10 a.m.